So the first step is about building a networking plan, having a starting point. Once you know where you want to go, how you're going to build your network, start first by building your brand. We'll talk about how you can brand build along the way. Then we want to start making connections, and then how do you actually interact with them? And finally, how do you maintain this network? Okay, so it's a very simple 5-step process, and feel free to stop me along the way. Now, I believe that you guys are all in this session because you believe in the importance of networking, right? I think you may have heard that nowadays, on job portals, only about 20% of all available jobs are on the portals. In fact, 80% aren't even posted online, and they often come in through company referrals. Just give you an example that most MNCs, at least the ones that I've worked for before, and even NUS, they have a referral policy. If somebody refers, if let's say I'm working in NUS and I refer someone to HR and HR says, yeah, okay, we're going to select this person as a new employee, I get a cash reward. And so companies use referral policies to find good candidates. In my last company, was an American MNC, they were paid up to 3,000 USD for a good referral. So that means that people in the businesses are incentivized to find people themselves rather than use the portal. They want to bring in their own networks because it's a win for them. They get paid, and the company also wants it because the company feels that I trust a candidate when a current employee recommends him or her. You follow what I'm saying? And just give you an example, right? So yesterday I was on LinkedIn and I saw this. This is literally a day ago, 2 days ago, from Juliana from Wild Tide Media. She posted this. Actively she gave a long explanation of how she was hiring at the start of COVID, and then it had to pause, and now she's hiring again. And if you look down, it says this job description isn't found elsewhere, as I'm only recruiting those who are active on LinkedIn. I guess what she means is her LinkedIn, because then she can actually know them a little bit better, rather than just a cold resume on her job platform. So that was one, and then I saw another one as well. This is from Skills Future Singapore. This was something I plucked out yesterday. Soon Jong is the chief futurist, and Skills Future is hiring data scientists. And she again posted the whole description on LinkedIn, where people that are within her network, within her colleagues' network, will come in and self-select themselves in a more natural, more personal way, rather than a very cold resume drop process. And this seems to be the way going forward. And so we need to be positioned to be online to receive these opportunities. Now, networking is not just about job opportunities. I spoke a little bit about that, and yes, it is a lot about that, but it's not just about job opportunities. Let's do something really quick. If you click that, the black bar, or the options tab, you will see the chance to click participants. And I want you to click participants. And at the bottom of the participants bar, you see yes, no, go slower, go faster, all those options. So say yes if you know exactly what role or industry you want to be in, and say no if you don't. You're not fully decided yet. Okay, so just do that. Great. So I thank you all. Your responses are coming in nicely. I see 8 people who know what they want, 17 who are not too clear right now. That's perfectly normal. So networking isn't just about getting a job. Networking is just as much about learning about jobs. Meaning, when you have a good network, you can easily call them up and say, look, I see that you're doing this data analyst role at Skills Future Singapore. Can you tell me what it's about? What is Skills Future? What's it like to work there? Look, I have a bit of data knowledge, but what are they using data analysis for? Is that something I'm interested in? So you get to have a conversation to find out about the jobs, find out about the industry. If you're totally clueless, that's great. You have a blank slate to begin with, right? And so anybody in your network is now a source of opportunity, a source of information. It could be your mother, your uncle, your senior from your CCA, and say, hey, look, tell me about your job. And if you find yourself leaning in, being interested, that's a sign to you that, oh, that's a job that could be of value for you. If you find yourself getting bored, falling asleep as they tell you about their job, then you know that, okay, that's not something to look at, and then you can narrow your job search to a few industries. So you get insider insight, you get to know about the businesses, you gain access, as I spoke about, to hidden jobs that are not posted on the portal. And it's sometimes when you have a strong network, you don't even have to search for the job. The job comes to you. If you're active on LinkedIn and you are promoting a certain approach to solving a problem, right now, I guess the approach is how to have effective Zoom meetings, maybe, and you have a point of view on how to solve that. You start to get noticed. If you keep doing that with other problems, you start to build a brand for yourself, and then people come to you with opportunities. That's why we want to build your power of networking. Now, I want to just check in with you right now. How do you feel about networking? Let's see whether I can just very quickly launch a poll. No, for some reason I don't actually have that function. Never mind, no worries. How do you feel about networking? So let's do an exercise here, and I'll invite you to share your own annotations in a bit. Oh, okay, great. So Jacqueline, actually, that's a good idea. Let's answer on the chat. Jacqueline, thank you. I'm inspired by what you have done. So let me ask you this general question. Put your answer on the chat. How do you feel about networking? So Jacqueline said awkward. Yeah, I think I felt the same way when I was graduating. But let's put your answers. Honest to goodness answers. Yeah, there's a bit of nervous and excited. What else? Drop your answers in the chat. How do you feel? Okay, yeah, Gerald, good point. Not able to be genuine. It does feel a little fake. Okay. Ching Wei, necessary but difficult. Okay, so by the end of today, I want to leave you feeling that yes, it is not as difficult as it may seem. Jennifer feels a little forced. Yeah, I can definitely see why you say that. Okay, so let's hope that we can perhaps have a different opinion by the end of it when I make it a little bit more organic for you. I don't want it to seem inauthentic. The goal is not to network for networking's sake. You don't just go and spray at everybody in your LinkedIn and say, talk to me. No, you want to make it authentic to you, and let's talk about how we do that, okay? So a lot of you suggest that it is necessary, difficult. You don't know how to talk to them, how to get the conversation started. Okay, great. Whatever you are all saying is stuff that we will address. So Binayak, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to tell you later on towards the end of the class how you can have a good conversation with these people. Anna, it's okay when I know someone from industry, but it's hard when we start from zero. And that's the brilliant part about LinkedIn. And we're going to talk about it. It's very rare that you'll ever start from zero because of this first degree, second degree connections. You may not know the person, but you might know somebody who can introduce you and set you up. So we'll talk about that. Okay, Harsha, yeah, how do we start the conversation? Okay, so good. So networking there is some challenge to it. And I think everyone is in this class because you believe in the value of it, but you also are on a similar boat. You're all sailing that similar boat where you feel it's important, but I don't really feel confident about it. I don't really feel smooth and authentic about it. That's my understanding from your answers. So, okay, let's try this one. Read this. This was a social media post by an FASS graduate not long ago. Well, maybe a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years ago. So it was some time ago. And I wonder whether the sentiment has changed. But read this, and later on, I'll invite you to annotate on the slide itself your thoughts. Let me just tell you how to do the annotation. So later on, when I flip to this slide, you can just go to View Options and then click Annotate. And then you can do that. But let's go back and let me show you that pros again. So how do you guys feel about people who get jobs through the back door or through connections? I just recently graduated with a good cap, but I still can't find a job. Same goes with many of my course mates. We're from a pretty obscure major in FASS. And so far, I've applied to about 100 positions, of which only 25 have been processed, been to 4 interviews, and 2 have rejected. The other 2 didn't get back to me. During commencement, I was quite surprised that a couple of my friends had already secured jobs. They did not get higher cap than me, nor were they proactive in sports clubs in the uni or other clubs. So I asked which portal they use, and they said, oh, they just got in through a network. They never actually applied. They got jobs through connection to people they knew within big MNCs and are now earning a decent income while I'm jobless. Okay, so that's a tough situation. Needless to say, these friends of mine are from privileged backgrounds. Parents worked in those MNCs or close friends who are. And she wonders, shouldn't this be against company policies? Sorry, if you don't annotate on this slide, please. Um, shouldn't this be against company policy? Worst of all, they didn't even seem guilty or embarrassed that they found jobs that they clearly had not deserved. No, that's a very subjective point of view. I don't fully agree with it, but I want to know what you feel. So is this the norm for local grads? Am I doing my job search properly? And to make matters slightly more challenging, she feels I don't have that kind of network because my family wasn't rich. My dad was a taxi driver. So I want to know how you feel about people getting jobs through networking. And this is where you can actually start to annotate. So just use the text option to go to view options, click annotate and select text and start typing your responses on this slide directly. Do you feel it's perfectly legit? Do you feel it's unfair? Do you feel it's unmeritocratic? Is it fine? Is it a leveler? How do you feel about people getting jobs through networking? So in that black panel, there's a little annotate sign. There's a little like pencil like thing next to the pause button. It seems unfair, but unfortunately, that's the way of life. Okay. Somebody says acceptable. Okay. So when you click annotate, make sure you click the text option, right? I want to be the same. Okay, so you want to be the person that gets in through connections and through networks. Okay, inevitable, fair enough. It's fine. Depends on how the company actually decides. That's a really good point, and I'm going to dive into this in a bit. I don't think it was easy either. Oh, okay, you deleted that, no worries. Unfair, but a product of class inequality. Interesting. Okay, we'll look into that. Yeah. So perhaps it's easier for the HR to assess the candidate better because they have someone to vouch for their behavior. So it's understandable and I can sympathize with the hiring behavior. I fully agree with that, right? Again, if you put yourself in the HR person's shoes, if you're in a big company, you're going to get thousands of applicants for a prominent job. Because it's not just NUS who is applying, right? There's SMU, there's SUSS, there's NTU, and each have about a few thousand graduates every year. And then you got your foreign graduates coming in as well. And then you may have people with 2 years, 3 years experience graduating 1 year, 2 years before you as well applying. And so it's an overwhelming task to be a hiring manager. Put yourself in their shoes. So what are they going to do? We humans, we like shortcuts. We like to save effort. And we also feel that it's not just saving my effort, it is also giving me a high chance of success, because if somebody who works here knows the culture, knows the work we do, knows the skills required, can tell me that, you know what, this person has the skills, I'm gonna trust that person a lot more than I'm gonna trust like a simple psychometric test. Okay, that's just human. Great idea. So realistic, having the opportunity to network is not equal to straight hire. You still require the skills and aptitude to be hired. And that's kind of like what somebody else said earlier. And so here's the deal, right? And when you get in through the back door, you don't often get in through the back door. What it means is that if someone says, here, look at Elena's resume, or here, look at Gerald's resume, look at Crystal's resume, it's not giving you a job. There's no, unless you're friends with Piyush Gupta from DBS, which is unlike that many of you are friends with Piyush Gupta, the CEO of DBS, or if you're like friends with the MD or the CEO of some company, then that's different story. But that's very rare. That's very, very rare. Maybe that's the 1%, right? But we're not here talking about 1%. But for the rest of us who use networking to get jobs, it means that you get a chance to be heard. You don't get the job. You're likely to get an interview. You're likely to get a second look at your resume and the chance to prove yourself. But at the interview, you need to show that you have the experience that they look for, you have the skills that they look for, you have the aptitude that they look for. And so you may not have the grades like this person who wrote in the previous post, You may not have the grades like her, but if your resume has good amount of experiences, if you can demonstrate character in the interview, then you get the job. I see this as a leveler. I see this as a leveler. So yes, the 1% who are very, very rich maybe have access to real decision makers. The rest of us have access to just getting in. And whether you come from a humble background or whether you come from a very privileged background, everyone has the opportunity to network. Sure, our starting points are slightly different, right? Of course, if your parents are wealthy and they have connections, great. But that doesn't mean you can't create your own connections. Networking is a series of luck, right? But I use luck in inverted commas. We got to create our own happenstance. So how do we create these opportunities? Build your network. Go and volunteer in places. Go and connect with old friends. You have CCA buddies who are now in companies. You have friends in your hall who have graduated and are now in companies before you. You have, professors. You have, heck, you even have in the past your Grab hitch drivers, right? They all are working. You can take ownership and level the playing field yourself. Because yes, some people might say this is a matter of privilege. I feel you. But you have the ability to take ownership of the situation and create your privilege, create your pathways to get access to opportunities. Because I don't think this is unfair. I don't think it's nepotism. Nepotism is where somebody hires a family member. That's very minor in this case. Yes, it does happen, but it's rather minor because most companies have a very strict policy. And then after that, if you get into the door of the referral, you gotta shine. You gotta pass the assessment center. You gotta pass the interview, and you gotta impress. It's just a chance to get you through the door. And it's great if your grades aren't great. And oftentimes HR directors will just sort out very simply. The simplest filter is grades. So if your grades aren't great, this is a way to get in through the door. And I've had, personally as well, I've been very privileged that I haven't actually had to apply for any job traditionally, but I never came from a privileged background myself. My dad was a teacher, my mom was a housewife, but I was very conscious in uni about just getting involved in things that I enjoyed doing, and I volunteered a lot. I joined a lot of clubs, and people introduced me, and then I got my first job in the law firm, and everything else was kind of just through clients and a network. So I think it's a great leveler. All right. I have never done this annotate thing before, so if any of my colleagues know how I can get rid of all the annotations now that I'm moving on to the next part of the class, please help me out. Let me see what I can do.
Just Bill,
Ling, yes.
You can clear it.
I can clear it, huh?
Yeah,
okay, it's my first time using the annotate function. Oh, wonderful, great.
Yeah.
Clear all drawings. All right, guys, thank you very much for your inputs. No offense, but I'm going to clear it right now. Okay, great. So thanks, Ling. Slightly funny moment right there. So
no worries.
It's leveling the playing field. So it helps you effectively overcome some of the disadvantage of not being born to privilege, right? You can get educated as you are in university, but by networking effectively, you can level the playing field. So join your clubs now, get on LinkedIn, promote yourself in a very organic way. Even though you're graduating now, you can still network by joining community groups. You can network by revisiting old friends. You can network by joining online forums and groups. And we're going to talk about some of that very, 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 very soon. It's a leveler. Okay, I think many of you see that as well. All right, how do I move forward? Okay, great. So at this point in time, I'm not sure why this is. Okay, great. All right, I want to share with you somebody that is really, really someone to admire. This is a NUS grad from the Faculty of Engineering. His name is Noel, and he's given us the permission to share his story. And it's a very interesting story. So he graduated NUS, I believe, in 2019, one semester late. And he's posted his grades right there. He shared it with us in an email and gave us permission to share it. So look at his grades in 2018-19 semester one, right? B+, C+, D, and his cap was 2.4, but he passed his degree. So he knew that he had to hustle. he had to take a very different approach. And he landed a job. In fact, he landed 5 job offers after graduating, not through his grades, of course, but through very, very creative means. Now, what are some of these means? One, he reached out and found trade fairs. So you guys know career fairs, obviously, but he went specifically for trade fairs. So he wanted an engineering job, and he didn't want to do like the general career fair where you would talk to HR people, and HR people tend to maybe just profile based on grades and whatnot. And even if they don't look at grades, if they see this kind of grades, they might really balk at it. So he went to trade fairs where it's more about problem solving. He went and found booths of companies he was interested in. So one company was ST Engineering, and he went and he found out, he did his research, right? He found out what ST Engineering was working on, what they're going to present at the trade fair. And he went to that booth and he shared his idea. He pitched his idea on how they can improve the situation. And they didn't take it up, but they were very impressed by him that they gave him an interview. Now, other things that he did, he went, okay, so this is really hustling, right? He knew that he was in a difficult situation. He went to the MRT stations. I believe it was one of the more like city central type MRT stations, and he actually went and waited for people in like who were dressed professionally, and he approached them. Of course, he sussed it out, right? You know, those that were on their phones, looking very serious with the headphones on, he wouldn't approach them. But those who looked really relaxed, calm, he would approach them and talk to them and say, "Look, I'm from NUS. I'm graduating this year, and I really want to get some ideas about my career and opportunities that are out there. Can I just have a chat with you to find out what your company does and whether I can consider that as a career future?" So he really hustled, and 2 months before graduating, he secured a job. So that's a really powerful story, and I wanted to just share that with you. So, okay, I'm going to pause right here to take any questions that you may have. Any questions about networking? Any questions about anything I've shared so far? Yeah, did he try networking with LinkedIn? Yes, definitely he did. I'm just going to actually pull out my notes on Noel a little bit more so I can tell you a bit more about Noel. He definitely did do the whole LinkedIn networking. Let me just pull it out. So he did both. So he did approach people directly, very unorthodox, but he knew the situation he was in and he wanted to hustle. Did he use LinkedIn? Yes, he definitely did as well, and I'll share a bit more about him in a bit. Lauren, that was earlier. Okay. Yeah, I think he benefited from multiple approaches. To be honest, he give me a second. Let me just pull out my notes. I have his story written up quite nicely over here. So yeah, actually, this is interesting. So let me just show you. Actually, I can just show you my notes, right? So this is the story of Noel. Let me clear the annotation. I saw your question, so I'm gonna just clear it, and then we can come back to the slides. Okay, so let me just tell you a bit more about Noel, right? So in his own words, he crashed engineering master's level classes in NUS, and he would, especially when they had guest lectures. So he would find out who the guest lecturers were, and then he would research about them and find out what their research interests were. And then during the break or after the class, he would walk up to them and ask an intelligent question. After he has asked the question, they've had a good conversation, then he would add them on LinkedIn. And then he would then also ask them, hey, look, I really enjoyed this. I'm looking for a career in this field. Do you know anyone I can talk to? So that's one. Then he got more openings to talk to people there. And then, yeah, remember I told you about MRT? So he was canvassing on Kentridge and One North MRT. And yeah, it was a bit of a unorthodox situation, like somebody distributing flyers. But this actually helped him land an internship because he spoke to someone who referred him to the Singapore Institute of Neurotechnology. Like I mentioned earlier, right, he spoke to more approachable people, and you'll be very surprised that when you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, or if you reach out to somebody who looks approachable in marketing, and you say, "Look, I'm an NUS student, and I'm in a bit of a predicament. I'm trying to find out where I can start my first job, and I wanted to just talk to somebody who's already working." And people are very open. And then I told you about the trade fairs, right? And also, he did a lot of cold connections on LinkedIn, and he used his second degree connection. So, oh, I see that you're working in this company, and I know somebody there. Hey, look, I saw your profile because I'm connected to Jonathan, and I think Jonathan's a friend of yours. And I wanted to just ask you X, Y, Z. And he got 5 offers before graduating. So let me go back to the chat. Any more questions? Yeah, so it's not that LinkedIn didn't work well or not. He used a variety of means. In fact, the LinkedIn approach was something like informational interviewing, which we will talk about very soon. That worked quite well for him as well. And like I said, he got five opportunities from the trade fair, one from the MRT. He got masters and research opportunities as well, which he's now actually doing his masters in the UK. From his conversations crashing the master's students' sessions. So he secured a job and then later on went to do his master's because these conversations told him that, okay, you know what, I'm quite interested in pursuing more research. So he worked for a while and then went on to do research. Okay, so let's move ahead. So let's get into the meat of this, right? Networking is, as I think we've already established, networking is key to unlock hidden doors, to create opportunities. But how do we do that? So here are the 5 steps. Okay. Just to make my job easier with all these annotations, only annotate on the slide where I give you the annotations line sign, okay? And don't annotate on the other slides. Thank you. So first, let's build our networking plan. What's our plan? How do we, I think if you attended the webinars by my colleagues on job search strategies, you know that you have a job search plan. Okay, and you've met our character, Nick, who's a global studies graduate. So he's got work experience in the prison services, he's got research assistance experience, and he's been an EXCO member in the Polity group, and he volunteers at Meet the People session. So he's interested in consulting, public policy, culture, and art. So where does he start in terms of networking? Simple. Start with the people you know. Start with people that you actually know, and next, then move on to people who you know and can actually connect you to other people. So who do you know? If you look at if this is a mind map of yourself, right? Let's say you are that lady in the blue, and the people that are directly connected to you, let's call them categories: family, friends, seniors, CCA mates, ex-internship colleagues, professors, other acquaintances. That is already a lot of nodes in your network to create. After you've created those nodes, who do they know? That's the next part. Who can they introduce you to? I believe you received this this Excel sheet when you signed up for this workshop, right? To create your networking plan. So first question, who is in your network? Okay, maybe Uncle John is in your network. He is a manager at Cisco. And it may not be Uncle John, it could be David, your fencing CCA senior, who is associate at Cisco. Maybe it could be your OGL from your Rag and Flag, your orientation group leader from your Rag and Flag day, who is your senior and now is working at Amazon Web Services. It can be anybody, right? Who is it? Right? Literally write anyone working in an industry you're vaguely interested in, or anyone in fact who's working. Write them all down and be thorough about this, and identify where they are Are those companies something that you may be interested in? And then move on to their previous companies. Could those be things you're interested in? And then move on to who they know. So look at their network and see who looks interesting to you. And you can do this all on LinkedIn, right? See who's interesting to you and where they can introduce you. So that's one. That you can build a pretty robust networking plan by just listing out all your, as you can see in this one, existing contacts and target contacts. So existing contacts is one, and target contacts. So let's look at this. Let's say you are searching for a job. I'm gonna share my Safari. Okay, you should be able to see my Safari page. All right, so let's say you're looking for a job and you go to NUS Talent Connect. All right, everyone knows NUS Talent Connect, right? And so just follow me. This might take some time to sign in, but that shouldn't be too much of a hassle. Okay, so student and alumni, sign on. Okay, then you got to do the two-factor authentication. Oh no, you don't. Okay, great. And now you're looking for a job. All right, so job and internship management. Okay, postings. Okay, so that's where all the jobs are posted. And let's say you're looking for the jobs, and these are the jobs that have been posted today, or very recently, maybe yesterday or today, most recent ones. So you're looking, why is that? No, Think Academy, no, what's that? Oh, okay, look, ByteDance. All right, ByteDance is the owner of TikTok. I want to work in tech, maybe. Okay, in this posting, they're looking for an algorithm engineer, but fine, doesn't matter. Let's just say ByteDance is a target company. Okay, great. So I got ByteDance as a target company. Now I go back to my networking plan. I'm going to switch my sharing again. So back to my PowerPoint. So back to my networking plan. Target companies, ByteDance. Okay, I want to work in ByteDance. All right. So who do I possibly know? All right. Let me do this. Let me go on LinkedIn. So we'll talk about LinkedIn some more, but I'm going to go do a people search. So you saw what I did? Oh, okay. I need to share my Safari. 1 minute. All right. So now you guys are seeing me. Okay. This is my LinkedIn homepage. I'm on LinkedIn over here. I'm going to go to search. I'm going to go search people. Okay. I said that I wanted to work for ByteDance. I'm going to search for people in ByteDance. Okay. I'm going to see all results for ByteDance. Okay, people results for ByteDance. See all. Okay, so who do I know? Okay, so obviously I rehearsed this just before the class, so that's why Joanna's name is in purple. But Joanna, I don't actually know her, but interestingly, she is a global talent and OD lead, and that's great because I have a career in talent management and OD, and that might be something I'll be interested in the future. And guess what? She is a second-degree connection. What does that mean? It means that I know somebody that knows her. In fact, I know 32 other people that know her. So I saw on Talent Connect ByteDance as an opening. Okay, I'm going to think who works at ByteDance that I can speak to. Unfortunately, there's nobody in my existing network that knows that's working in ByteDance, but there's quite a number of people in my second-degree network that are in ByteDance. So Joanna, for example. So let's see who my shared connections are. Oh, okay, Effin. Effin was my ex-colleague in my last company. When we both left at the same time, he went to Conferry, I came to NUS. Okay, he could introduce me if I wanted to speak to her. So, and then you look at all your existing connections that could potentially introduce you. This is Naresh, is another good friend of mine. Okay, he can introduce me. So that's what I mean. So go back now to your networking plan. And that's exactly what I mean here. So if you have a target company, maybe there's a particular role you want, identify who you can then reach out to from your existing network to give you the lead, give you the introduction. So that's what I mean by building the networking plan, by starting with who you already know and who you would like to know. Follow? Any questions?